acknowledge that and think about the courage and the braveness that all the people in Ukraine are instilling in their lives today. So we continue to hold them in our prayers and our thoughts. And I just invite you to breathe with me as we move through this message for today. I'm amazed that these messages were written basically, or at least the outlines and the theme and the topic were written a year ago. Centers for Spiritual Living has a visioning core that works on creating the themes that many of us are following. And they also work in alignment with the Sign magazine. So what shows up in the daily guide, what shows up in the messages around all of the centers come into alignment. So Spirit must know something that the rest of us are trying to figure out. Spirit has already, from last year began to bring in these ideas and these words. Our month, of course, is February, and the theme for the year is Living Everyday Wonder. The inner life is the theme for February. We've been speaking about going within, going and finding the faith, the truth, and the love that is within. And of course, today, our topic is the ultimate fear buster. And it has, Jennifer was saying, it's this idea that the fear that is rising up in the world today is an opportunity. Spirit is trying to get our attention. It wants us to awaken in consciousness and look at this idea of what it is that we are doing humanity to itself in so many ways. And not only in this, what's happening in Ukraine and Russia, but it happens everywhere. And it comes down to the individual and how it is that we are treating ourselves and how it is that we are treating others, all others that are around us. And that's what brings us into this place of fear. Change this. Fear is the opposite of love. And yet the two are identical in the sense that the energy that is used in one is the same energy that is used in the other. And that final energy is the energy of our thought. We release fear through the cultivation of faith. Ernest Holmes, our founder, describes faith as a mental attitude, a belief in the presence of an invisible principle and a law which directly and specifically responds to us. How do we cultivate this faith energy? How do we grow this faith and direct this energy of thought? We know that without an awakened consciousness, the energy within us can be misdirected into fear, a sense of loss and anger. And that leads us to taking power and control. And I believe that this is the misdirected energy that results in war, much like what we are seeing in Ukraine and other places around the world. Nothing is isolated in the world. Whatever is going on in the macrocosm is also taking place in the microcosm. This invisible presence and this principle and this law is the universal energy, and it runs through our thoughts, our words, and our actions. And it's like the energy in your home. It is invisible, yet it powers everything that is wired to your circuit panel. Blow a fuse and your microwave doesn't work, your lights go out, and all hell breaks loose. You need to maintain your circuit panel. You need to cultivate your faith in this invisible power, your thought, and your mind. The ultimate essence of life mastery is a heart-centered living. Our book study group has been cultivating this invisible power. Individually, they have demonstrated joy in their lives in the midst of moving their home, settling family estates, managing transportation issues, and health concerns. They have manifested and demonstrated powerful examples of life mastery because they are working on the principle of cultivating their personal faith. It is the individual that this invisible power resides and must be nurtured to achieve life mastery. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Faith is an attitude of mind that is so convinced of its own idea that it accepts it so completely that any contradiction is inconceivable and impossible. Before we can create a mental attitude, there must be nothing in our subjective mind that contradicts our objective affirmation. If there is to be peace on earth, it must be within me. I must have such a conviction of peace that any contradiction is inconceivable and impossible. And Ernest Holmes writes this: God is peace. This peace which God is belongs to humanity. And in some part of our spiritual nature, whatever God is the universal, and human is the particular. The nature of God is incarnated in every living soul. Peace stands at the door of your consciousness and awaits your acceptance of it. It is not standing outside your door. It is on the inside. We need to awaken this peace. We need to awaken it now. The kingdom of heaven is within you. A conscious knowledge of this peace, coupled with a definite use of the law of mind, gives to each the possibility of freedom from the bondage of doubt and fear and uncertainty. People all over the world join hands, start a love train, a love train. People all over the world join hands, start a love train. Peace is at the center of your own soul. It is the very being of your being. This peace, which is at the center of your being, has never been disturbed. It has never been afraid. It has never desired to harm anyone. Therefore, it has never been hurt. How then shall you use this great gift which nestles at the very center of your being? You are to use it consciously. You are to speak the word of peace wherever discord appears. And when you do speak the word of peace, let no doubt arise in your thought. You must know that your peace has all the power because it is the peace of God within you. Most fears are summarized in few false beliefs. For example, nobody wants me, I'm not needed, I'm not loved, I'm not worthy of anything, I'm not enough. These false beliefs are the cause of fear, and the effect is fear itself. Fear arises from the false belief in duality, the belief in two powers. This is a belief that there may be a power which is opposed to God, opposed to the divine, whose influence can attract evil to us. It's something on the outside that we perceive is being done to us. We release fear through the cultivation of faith, a faith founded on the thought that God is all there is. Faith and fear are identical. in the sense that the energy used in one is the same energy used in the other. For there is only one ultimate energy in the universe, which is the energy of our thought. When we understand that fear is a mental attitude, we can observe the fear and we can examine it, converting that thought into one of faith. By learning to face our fears, we learn that there is nothing to fear. There are only two emotions, love and fear. And love is divine. It is the activity of God. Fear, on the other hand, is a tool of the ego founded on the belief that we are separate from God and that we are separate from each other. We can put aside inner fear by loving it. To love the fear, we must call the power and the presence of God into our lives, or into the particular situation that is allowing this presence to dispel the fear. The moment that we realize that we are in the midst of fear, we must not struggle to get away from it. Rather, we must relax and declare the truth, remembering that it is the truth that will set us free. Wherever I am, there is God. Let there be light in me. Say this with me. Wherever I am, there is God. Let there be light in me. And the moment that we affirm truth, fear will vanish and disappear from our lives. Love is the nature of the universe. Love has no opposites. Its essence is neutrality, impartiality, and its essential character is that it does not generate resistance to anything. Therefore, it does not generate tension. It flows freely, allowing all of the diversity of creation to interact and maintain its original essence. Love is absolutely unconditional, which leaves those who love in complete freedom. It is the total acceptance of self and other. It is without condition. Regardless of what the other does or thinks, love is universal and the only energy in which God exists. It is to know that wherever we are, God is there because God is love. And in this truth, fear vanishes, just as darkness vanishes when the light is turned on. Our thoughts and our words are creative energy, the cause of our feelings and our emotions. We must use them responsibly, in tune with the universal energy of love. We are beings of love, and this truth that will transform us and dissolve fear. Through facing situations which trigger us, our fears will mature and they will transform ourselves, finding within ourselves unimaginable resources. It is here where our deepest realizations are found, where we understand our relationship with the whole. Whatever happens is an opportunity for growth, for an immense evolution, a tremendous opportunity to rise above all fears and to become very empowered. In spite of everything, joy. Fears come from false beliefs. If we continue to feed them every day, we give them more power. Fear has kept us in ignorance and has managed us through guilt, blame, and shame. And this makes us believe in a non-existent power, leading us to believe that we are not valuable. Love has the power to transform our fears. When we learn to love ourselves, to be gentle with ourselves, to take care of ourselves, to praise ourselves, to be first our love, we transform ourselves. Most of us experience a life full of wonderful moments and difficult moments. But for many of us, even when we are most joyful, there is a fear behind our joy. We fear that this moment will end, that we won't get what we need, that we will lose what we love, or that we will not be safe. We are afraid of the things of outside ourselves that we cannot control. We worry about becoming ill, aging, losing the things that we treasure most. We try to hold tight to the things that we care about, our possessions, our property, our loved ones. By holding tightly, it doesn't ease our fear. Eventually, one day, we will have to let it all go, for we cannot take them with us. Do I water your seeds of fear, or do I water your seeds of joy? Thich Nhat Hanh, who recently departed, a Vietnamese Buddhist monk, in his book, Fear, the Essential Wisdom for Getting Through the Storm, he gives us this story of fear. One day during the Vietnam War, he was sitting in a vacant airfield in the highlands of Vietnam. He was waiting for a plane to go north, for he was studying the flooding situation and was looking to see how he could bring relief to the flood victims. The situation was urgent, so he had to go on a military plane that was normally used to transport such things as blankets and clothing. He was sitting alone in the airfield waiting for the next plane when an American officer came up to him and said, or he was waiting for the plane, and it was during the time of the Vietnam War, and they were the only two on the airfield. He looked at him and he saw that he was young, and immediately he said he had a lot of compassion for him. Why does he have to come here to kill or be killed? So out of compassion, he said, "You must be very afraid of the Viet Cong." For at that time, the Viet Cong, the Vietnamese communist guerrillas, were, as we were informed, those of us that were in the service at that time, could have been any person, even a Buddhist monk. He says that he wasn't very skillful at speaking to this officer, and so what he did was he had watered the seed of fear in him. And the officer immediately touched his gun and he asked him, "Are you a Viet Cong?" Thich Nhat Hanh had to remain calm and practice the teaching of mindfulness. Be compassionate in the moment, even in fear. As the two of them were standing there alone on the airfield, he began to speak calmly to him, to reassure him that he was not his enemy, that they were there to help the people in need, that both of them were there to serve a similar purpose. This led Thich Nhat Hanh to continue to move into being an icon, a standard of peace and mindfulness throughout Vietnam and during the entire war. The thoughts, the words, the actions that we take are all forms of energy, just like water. Have we used the tools we learn in Science of Mind principle? Are we using them and practicing them each and every day? There is a value in being in classes, a book study, or visioning. For this is where we learn the principle. This is where we learn mindfulness. This is where we learn to be compassionate and to be love in the midst of chaos and fear. Life mastery is a daily practice, and it needs to be nurtured and watered daily. Like a thriving garden, if you are not attending to your practice, fear will be your guide and your choices will result in more chaos. Fear is the opposite of love, and yet the two are identical, in the sense that the energy that is used in one is the same energy that is used in the other, and that the final energy is the energy of your thought. Nurture your joy. Give it freely. Water the seeds of joy. Live it daily. Be in the practice of what we are teaching in the science of mind. I give to the world my love, peace, and joy. Say this with me. I give to the world my love, peace, and joy. And I give to you my love, my peace, and joy. Namaste.